Hello and welcome to Plugin Along, a stream dedicated to LOTRO plugins. My goodness, I enjoy the Yule music in LOTRO. Last time on Plugin Along, we worked on updating the deed tracker plugin with update 46 Kingdoms of Harad deeds. And today we're going to look at some Festival Buddy 2 improvements I've thought about this week while running the Yule Festival with my characters. But first, we're going to go ahead and demonstrate how I do Yule using the Festival Buddy plugin. As always, feel free to jump into chat with your thoughts and questions about LOTRO in general or plugins in specific. I'm just chilling up here on this chimney with my brand new turtle, Jingle Turtle, who is so cute. I really like what they did with wrapping the belt around the shell for the bells. Fantastic. Okay, so let's go ahead and pull back a little bit. So, plugins. Plugin Manager, Festival Buddy 2. Now, I'm starting from scratch. What will someone look at or see if they've never opened it before? And the answer is it defaults to Spring. It's got a default to something, and it's just the first one in the list. So we're going to head on over to Yule. We don't have to. It'll pick it up automatically as we're picking up the quests. But I do want to look at the quick guide ahead of time. Little Redhead was also showing this off on her stream. But what I want to do is I want to come in and do a little customization of this quick guide. So, I have decided that the biggest stomach of them all is not worth it from a me perspective. I have a lot of characters to do, not a lot of time. So this is a big time investment for a small chunk of experience. And really it's all about the tokens if you're successful in getting through all 5 of the tables. I have enough tokens. Where'd my window go? There it is. I have 786 Yule tokens on my completionist character, so doing fine. So I'm going to go ahead and unselect a bunch of those, and actually let me scroll down and show what happens. This is updating live. Scroll on down to the biggest stomach of them all section. We kind of assume that the timing's just not going to work out, and you're going to do Ona K last. You can of course do it in any order you want. But it ends up at the bottom of the list. So we're going to go ahead and undo biggest stomach of them all parts 2, 3, 4, and 5. And we can see them just disappearing from here. Awesome. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and shrink this up a little bit. Put it right here. There we go. Okay. So I tend to use this as a rough outline. The two things that are most variable are, well, the things that are most variable are, of course, are the 5 beggars in their location at the time that you would like them to be. For moving them off and for charitable spirit? Charitable something. A charitable spirit. For both of those quests, the beggars have to be there, and after they have been moved off, there is a cooldown period where they are not there. We can see that Barrett Noel just showed up, and a dwarf and a person just rode up to Barrett Noel. And if they're both doing a charitable spirit, nothing will happen. But if either of them are doing moving them off or supporting the poor, where you give them their jobs back or tell them that they have their job back, they're like, yay, I get to work for the man again. Then they'll run away. And so one of the things I want to do today is detect when that happens. When they say something that indicates that they're running off, start a timer and show when they are going to show back up on the assumption that it is a fixed interval of time. I think it is, based on everything else I've seen. So, Barrett Noah says, and I'm sure you or someone will tell me to leave the next place I end up to. And Barrett Noel is the most annoying of all of them because he has such a long walk out of town. We're just going to follow him here while I talk. He has such a long walk out of town compared to the others before he despawns, and he can't reappear at his starting spot until he does despawn. So, he's climbing this hill. I don't know how long there is after he despawns, though, so I am a little bit curious. I'm going to keep an eye on him to kind of brainstorm for plugin stuff. So we have Barrett Noel targeted here. And I just want to keep an eye over here. Okay, he's gone. How long do we think it is? 1006, 1007, 1008, 1009, well over 10 seconds. There he is. Okay, so he's got to walk that whole way and up the hill, despawn, and there's still a good 5 or 10 seconds before he comes back. And I'm sure you or someone else will tell me to leave the next place I end up to. Yes, in fact, that did happen. Okay, so what I like to do is run through this kind of as quickly as I can, bearing in mind that I'm sometimes going to deviate from the plan in order to take advantage of beggars being there, or if they're not there, kind of keep in mind that, oh, I want to swim back around to that. This is the extra effort that Little Redhead was saying that's something she doesn't enjoy. She doesn't like moving them off anyway, and the irregularity of them being there, she's not a fan of it. So we're in a busy environment. You can see people are constantly lining up to tell them off. So we're gonna go ahead and set ourselves up for lots of competition. I need to go grab some snowballs, so I'm gonna go ahead and barter. I'm just gonna get like 100 of these things and turn them in. The quest, I haven't checked into this too much, but it really feels like the quest has like an internal 24 hour cooldown as opposed to resetting every day at 3 a.m. server time. So if anyone has looked into that more, I am curious if you have better data than that. But I'm going to go ahead and double check. Am I earning on the right thing? Yeah, that's fine. Okay, great. Okay, I'm actually going to move the plugins tab out of here for a little while. Now, I noticed that when I hit escape, Festival Buddy closed. I'm going to turn off that option. When I hit escape, I want other things to go away, but not my quick guide. Okay, so next thing off, moving them off. Well, Barrett's not there, so we're going to move on. Ted Ives often is there because they have different cooldown periods. So we're going to go ahead and pick up Ted Ives and then grab these quests here. Making mischief is a great way to kind of stall waiting for these beggars to come back. But as we can see, these were here. You can see on the map that the next one isn't there, so instead I'm going to just come straight over to the fireworks. Oh, they're back. Oh, and they're gone. So it was just as well that we didn't try to compete with that, and we're not in a hurry, other than the fact that I want to be done in 15 minutes or less. So I pre-click all 8 of these. I try to position myself in the middle so clicking on them doesn't cause my character to move and cancel the inductions I've already queued up. But pretty good about hitting a spot here that is in range of all 8 of them. And then I'm hands-free. Maybe I take a bite of food if I'm nomming while I'm playing. Good time for a drink of water. Okay, after we've done all 8 of these, we're just going to go and pick up these quests. If the fireworks, someone else has used it and it's in that little bit of period where the box is gone and you're waiting for it to come back, that's a great time to skip ahead and pick these quests up. By the time you're done, that box will be back, possibly already being set off by someone else. As I said, I'm not doing stuff in the stuff, so I'm going to go ahead and take tidying up instead. I'm going to glance at the map and see, okay, that beggar's not there, so I'm going to start at that table so I can keep an eye for Bill Hyde, I think that is, who is indeed hiding. In fact, I'm at the wrong end of this table. I want to come over here so I can see just when Bill Hyde comes back. Not going to do with that camera angle. No, really. I would like to pick that up. Okay, Bill Hyde's back. Awesome. Sorry, person who is also standing there. He's mine. I didn't realize. Unfortunately, I don't know that the community has any good way to signal other than saying aloud whether or not they're doing charitable spirit or moving them off. If there's like 5 or 6 people doing charitable spirit, I would love to let them cut in front of me, as long as I don't get cut in front of by someone who's doing moving them off. And so, all right, the last one, Barrett Noel. I'm gonna go double check if Barrett is back because there's so much competition. Nope, I can see there's only 1 ring over there. So I'm gonna wait for Barrett to reappear and do these dishes instead. Must face target. When I'm spending a little bit more time thinking about it and not talking, I'll pre-position myself in the middle of the pile for each table and then just queue up the 3 or 4 uses. So 1, 1, 2, 3, and queue those up so that, again, I can be hands off to do something else while those are all processing. Okay, I'm going to mount up in the hopes that Barrett Noel is going to be there. No, no, no. Okay, next table. So again, just in the middle here. So if I see that second ring pop up in the radar, I'm going to go ahead and break off from this table and do that instead. Oh, I see their second ring. All right, great. That was the last one, so we're going to talk to Guard Kember so that we can swap for a Charitable Spirit earlier than the quick guide suggests. But again, because there's this competition, I want to go ahead and get started with that as soon as possible so it's not dragging on when everything else is done. All right, that table is done. Let's go, Cinch Killed. All right, so Daily Utterage does have that, a Charitable Spirit. Great. I'm going to just poke back and see. Okay, Ted Ives is there. I'm going to go ahead and donate. And I'm going to do the whole loop if I can, just because, again, I don't want the vagaries of when they are present to be a problem for me. So instead, I'll just do this since no one seems to be dismissing them right now. Great. I will double check again for Barrett, just because if he is there, problem solved. He's there right now. Let's see. Awesome. So we're absolutely done with them, and we can do everything else without any contention, except for the Grumpwood, but that's got a better respawn rate. I'm not going to turn it in yet because we don't have the driving off the cold quest ready. And in fact, there's so much over here. I'm going to remove them all. Don't want all that clutter on my screen. Actually, there is one that I do want cluttering up my screen, and that is the Abominable Snow Person. Yeah, okay. I do want that because I want the /cheer emote ready to go when I'm ready to go. Okay, we've done all the tidying up. Because I'm not doing any stuff in the stuffed, I don't have to worry about turning and tidying up to make room for that. So I'm just going to go ahead and dismiss that manually by clicking on it. And then almost right past Virgil Greenfield. Okay, so I like to grab the first stick that I can that kind of comes up as I'm writing out. That way it's just done. But it does mean I'm going to dismount and then remount. Yeah, Little Red Head does point out that the Snow Beast Cheer emote will pop up in your list, but my problem is by the time I get there, unless I'm managing my quest list carefully, my quest tracker carefully, it's going to be all the way down to the bottom of my screen, and at that point, the cheer emote's going to be on top of other UI elements down here, and that's just a personal preference. I'm not digging it. So this is my way of making sure that, no, it's definitely going to be where I'm looking for it, when I'm looking for it. Snafutu says, hello, is there a way to see alt currencies in Festival Buddy 2 or Titan Bar? On Titan Bar, I think I can see gold, but not the other currencies by hovering over it. What a great question. There is a way to look at something. If you go to the alts window, I believe it will have any alts that have had Festival Buddy loaded when you were logged into them. However, I effectively haven't logged into any alts here, so I can't demonstrate that behavior here. After I'm done swinging through doing the quests with this character, what on earth is going on here? A little lag. Okay. After I'm done with these characters, I'd be happy to see if that is true on mine. But if you're near your computer, go ahead and do the same. Oh, I know what's going on. My mouse is being a little funny as all. Also, someone's setting off fireworks outside. Fantastic. My mouse has buttons on the side, and if the software for the mouse isn't running for long enough, Windows just forgets about them. So, whoopsie. There we go. Okay, so we got our 9 firewood. Awesome. Let's move on. So yes, Sanfuto, I think, and double check me if you can right now, go to your alts window and you should see the currencies for the selected festival listed there. Okay, Sanfuto says, oh yes, thanks. When I originally looked at that, it was an alt I don't use anymore. Scrolled down to a good one and it was there. Thanks, big time saver for me. Yeah, I don't know if there's a way to clear that information other than going and kind of manually editing the save file, which isn't normally awesome advice for an average user of plugins. But it's a good idea. Let me actually write that down. FB2 and a way to delete alt information question mark. Okay, something for me to look at later. If you haven't already completed your social emotes for doing cheering, then cheering against the Yeti can work. But this button here is only going to be let you do 3 of them before it changes to a Mythor coin. Don't click that too fast. So if you want to get all 5 of your possible daily cheers, maybe go ahead and have either the cheer emote somewhere else or /cheer queued up so you can fire that one off. And then you can get all 5 of yours, complete that a little bit faster. Yeah, Stunfutu says, the reason I wanted to know easily is that they buy the shared wardrobe items with the ones they have the most tokens on, which totally makes sense. Yeah, Titan Bar definitely can show you currencies from other characters. I don't think there's a system in place to show you wallet tokens, though that's a very interesting idea.
Yeah, it's just money.
I think that's a place where Titan Bar could definitely be improved, though figuring out how to display that could be challenging. Although I guess if you're tracking a currency on your bar, then that could be cool to just show you that same style of list for all the other characters. What do they have for that currency? That's I want to write that down. Titan Bar. When hovering over a wallet icon on Titan Bar, show how much alts have, like money. Tooltip. Cool. Okay. Great recommendation stuff. I like that. Okay, so the Turn an Abominable Snow Beast quest is here because normally you'd be swapping out the moving them off, and since you're already talked them to, might as well turn it in. We already did that, so we're just getting rid of that quest. Okay, Daily Utterage would like to have these quests, and since we already finished the Charitable Spirit, we are actually done with the workers' quarters here. We're not coming back to them. Cool. Last thing, we're going to make the coal, make the bread, get the coal, and that lets us finish off every other quest. If I can, I'd like to start with the oven so I can queue up clicking on the coal, because you can't queue clicking the same thing multiple times, but you can queue oven then coal, and then while you're getting the coal, you can re-queue the oven. And then the last one, you just kind of waste half a second waiting for that overlap, and that makes me sad. If only there were like 4 ovens here like I have in Valheim, but no. Okay, that's all the bread. Grabbing the keg. The guards don't have super large vision range, and we can see the one here is moving away, so I'm not worried about it at all. But you can sneak by, even like when the guard stops, he stops looking. He closes his eyes when he stops moving. It's very weird. So when he stops moving, you actually have time to run in front of him and jump over that ledge without getting caught. Okay, so that was all of those. We got to go build a snow person with that coal and that stick. It's pretty broken. Now, if you're looking to make a giant snow person, you want to come here and go to this snow pile straight ahead. And then instead of making the small snow person, it'll be a giant snow person. We'll actually mess with the camera if I'm looking that way. Yeah. I like that one. But sometimes it's already built, although the snow person lasts longer than the refresh time on the snow pile, so you can rebuild it to kind of re-up it, even though there's already one there. I've actually had an instance this festival where there were no fields available, and I couldn't tell if it was because it was a glitch or like everyone had built a snow person. And it lasted long enough that I logged off and logged back on. It was fine. Alright, Mara sending down in the spirit of Yule. Done. And we also want to do our Yule Festival daily, which gives us a stack of presents. Awesome. And then we're also going to do a Festive Flurry Intermediate, which is going to give Virtue Experience. Am I happy with that? Oh, I haven't maxed out my all my offensive skills. I should do that. Okay. Bam. Now. Yeah, we can go back to that. Okay. And that was everything on the quick guide. So when I'm running without, narrating it, then that's around 15 minutes plus or minus a few minutes for making sure that the hungry beggars are in place when you need them to be. I've done it as few as like 10 to 12 if everything just syncs up. But obviously, if I was waiting for a Barrett right now, I would just be going for 30 seconds. So one thing I do want to remember is go ahead and put my Fateful Toolkit back in shared storage. And what I want to do, besides maybe pull up my Excel spreadsheet and mark off that I did this one today. Okay, Affodil is done. Yay! So what I want to do is switch over to a different character just so we can see these quest rings and interact with them when we want. And then before I do that, let's go ahead and say that Festival Buddy 2 is going to be loaded by everyone. Awesome. And then we're going to start looking at the changes I want to make to Festival Buddy, and that might be the rest of the stream, unless there's specific questions about specific festival quests that people have. We'll probably stay more on the coding side of things until it comes time to test anything out. So let's go ahead and see what this is. Yep, that's fine. And awesome. We're going to go ahead and log out of Affodil here. Now, Affodil's my main. That's why she has a turtle stone on, because we want to keep our levels pretty close to landscape difficulty, but just at the next LI Reforge point if possible, just because, why not make it a little bit easier on ourselves. Okay, my landscape difficulty character, minstrel, which is kind of redundant because I have Valard, a minstrel who had previously picked up the landscape difficulty quests. I actually do have those titles, but it's the principle of the thing. Gotta get a minstrel from 1 to 130 with landscape difficulty the whole way. Otherwise, it's kind of cheaty. Okay, so we're here with Tasha, and let's go ahead and look at that alts UI. So we can see under alts that I've selected Affodil. That just happens to be the first name in the list. And that tells us Affodil has 735 of the Yule tokens, 5 of the festivity tokens. Now, Mythril coins are interesting because, of course, those are server-wide. So that's not 2,640 Mythril coins that Affodil has. That's just 2,640 Mythril coins that are on this server. But they are useful in the in purchasing things at the vendors, and so it's useful to have them listed here. Now, interesting. I've got golden tokens on this character. Cool. Also, what's the refresh token for, or button for? I don't know. Okay, time to make a note. Why is there a refresh? Oh, for these timers, they're not refreshing automatically. Maybe next to the refresh button, question mark? Maybe steal the skull from Titan Bar. Okay, so let's take a look at the things that I would like to do. And we're going to go ahead and switch over to my desktop view and find where I put those notes. Okay, to GitHub, probably. All right, so over on GitHub, I have a Festival Buddy 2 repository. Great. So it's going to look like this, and under that we have issues. Oh, I'm not signed in. Alas, what's on to? Cool. Issues. So these are the things I was thinking of over the last week, or they have been gelling in my mind, is the first one that I think we're going to knock out is that don't populate the barter window until it is first opened. So if you haven't noticed, they keep adding barter items every festival, and I try to keep up to date with them as time allows. But it means that if you go over to the barter window, there's just a super duper large number of things in here, and every one of these is requires UI elements for the row and then the item itself, mapped to Winterhome in this case, and then at least one token for everything, sometimes 2 tokens. We can see the gold token here and the Yule tokens. And so every one of these rows has multiple UI elements going on. And when we change festivals, we update that list. And what I would like to do is investigate whether it's possible to only populate this the first time the window is opened, or if the window is already opened when we are changing the festival. So that's what I want to do, is take a look at the code and see what is it doing to cause that to load now, and can we push it back, and will that have any negative effect? So, to the code. Cool. Not that one, this one. Nope. This one. I'm so used to LOTRO being my first button down here that my muscle memory is playing games with me. Okay, this is the Festival Buddy 2. I'm going to go ahead and collapse down some of the folders on the left side here. Not the quick guide. Great. So the barter win is .lua is what contains the code to make the visual of the barter window. And we see the draw barter window function. Let's go ahead and take a look at where that is. So in main, as we're starting up, we do draw the window. But I have a feeling that that doesn't populate everything in there. That just makes the window itself. Aha! We have a refresh barter list. And I bet if we didn't do anything in here, in fact, let's play around with that. Let's make a refresh barter list and just call that one refresh barter list 2, and come back into here, and we're going to unload and reload. And then if I change over to Yule, we can see that's a lot snappier, right? So this is a good evidence that filling the contents of this window is the problem, not that anything else. Like, that got rid of all of the delay that I was noticing. Okay, awesome. So refresh barter list, or what we're calling 2 here. We're going to go ahead and restore it. Something in here is taking all the time, and I'm guessing it's the making all the things. Because if we went ahead and said, instead of going through all the pairs in festival items, if we said, I think we've demonstrated that it is that. Let's go ahead and figure out where refresh barter list is being called, because that might not be the only place. So it is called when we make it. So we should figure out how to kill that. And also when festivals is changed. Okay, I'm very curious if this is called then turbine.shell.writeline. Is this called when we first start up? Let's find out. No. Okay. So that's why they do the initial population. Oh, here, let's grab the plugins chat here. So we're getting that the item changed when we changed the dropdown, yes, but we didn't get one when we first loaded. So this is insufficient to handle it, but I would like this to not be there either. So let's actually comment that out. Let's comment this out and just double check. So Festival Buddy loads much faster, and this changes much faster. Only problem is the barter window is not very useful. Cool. Okay. So where can we put this instead? Well, what I want to do is, first of all, when the window opens. So how does it open? When we hit the barter button. That looks like it's in the main window, so let's go ahead and look at barter. What is it? All right, barter in quotes. Okay, great. That's a string, and it's going to be all caps. Great. So if we search for all caps barter in main window, just by itself actually. Where is this? Okay, here's the barter button. And on mouse click, it is doing a thing. So what we want to do is move that call to refresh barter list in here, if we're becoming visible. So if it's currently visible, then we're setting it to false. Otherwise, let's refresh the list and set it to true. If we're hitting the button to hide the window, we just don't care. Okay, and then the other thing is if the window is already visible. Like if I load this up and the window is already visible, how is that controlled? So we have a barter we want it set visible equals this. Okay, so this setting here, when we first start up, if we're visible, then go ahead and populate, because we need that now. And then when we're doing the drop down, so is this consistently kept up to date? Barter window. On the closing, we set it to false. Okay, that's great. And then, yeah, let's go ahead and check out that main window, because if we're setting to visible, oh, what if, oh, no, we don't need to refresh it here, because in the set visible call, nope, don't want that. Ooh, definitely don't want that. In the set visible, oh, we didn't override it. Oh, yeah, okay. So we would like a helper function, visible, okay, so visible changed. What else do we have? Apparently I was holding down the E button. That's not helpful. Okay, so let's go ahead and make a set barter window visible, I guess. Function set barter when visible, and that's going to be is visible, and we're going to go ahead and use that when we would have just called this function. So we want to take this, find any uses of that, and instead we want to go ahead and say barter when set visible. Oh, set barter when visible. Okay, and we're going to do that instead. And the reason is I want set barter when visible to do two things. I want it to set the visibility. Great. And I want to move this over to there. So if is visible, then we'll refresh the barter list. Awesome. And then we want to make sure we use this instead of this. Okay, great. So set barter when visible with that. And then anywhere else. So set barter when visible. We're setting with this, and that's going to take care of populating it. Awesome. What else? Yeah, okay. These are reasonable things to do. No, not this one. This is hitting an escape button. So yeah, we'll set it to that false. Okay. But these two, this is just hiding the UI, and in more complicated plugins, the visibility of a window can depend on a couple of things. Like maybe it only shows up if you're in combat, but also if the HUD is turned on. So you need to be able to know why you're visible as a compound state between we're in combat and the HUD is on. And if either of those is false, then you should not be visible. And so setting the visibility is more complicated. I think this is probably okay, because if it was visible, we're turning it off. Oh, sorry. If it was visible, we're turning it off. And when we're turning the HUD back on, we're bringing that up. And so it would have already been there. I think these are fine to leave there, but I feel a little uncomfortable that there's two different ways to do this. It would be nicer if we had a parameter here or something that could tell us that we were in that state. So there's still a central place to do this. So skip refresh. So if skip refresh is equals null, then is nil. Sorry, wrong language. Then skip refresh equals false. So in all cases that they're just passing this, we're saying not to skip the refresh, so that this can do set barter window visible with this setting and true. And then the one down here will be set barter win false, so it's not going to be refreshing anyway. So in here, skip refresh, then if visible and not skip refresh, then refresh the barter list. Okay, I feel better about that. That way we have a unified central point where they can all have a runtime error like this. Okay, let's take a look at this. Oh, that's actually a load error. 103. Barter win. Okay. List barter items. A nil value. What did I do? I may have accidentally deleted some characters I didn't mean to. Let's come on into Festival Buddies here and take a look. What did I mess up? All right, so I deleted a line I didn't need to. All right, let's put that back. Refresh. Set barter one visible. Okay, none of that seems bad actually. List barter items is fine. What about in the main? And let's have some context. Okay, so we have a, actually I don't need that output anymore. Apparently I accidentally replaced something. That's not good. Okay, so visible set. Okay, all that seems okay for right now. So let's figure out. Oh, list barter items hasn't been created yet? Where is that created? No, it should be. Oh, set barter window. We need to make that an end thing. Okay, cool. We were doing a bad order of operations there. Okay, so we popped up and it was visible, so it loaded. What about now? It did not load. Okay. If I change festivals and then I go to barter, now there's a little bit of a delay. If I change festivals here, we're not paying attention to it. So this is the final part. We need to, in this drop down, we need to pay attention to that. So in drop down festivals, item changed. Here, refresh barter list. What we really want to do is maybe almost the same thing. I'm trying to figure out if there's a good way to consolidate this logic. But if we, where is it? Oh, here. We could take advantage of this for right now if barter window visible, then refresh barter list end. I feel like I would prefer barter windows code to be the arbiter of whether the list gets refreshed or not, instead of us poking at it. This isn't a very object-oriented language, but even so, we can kind of separate concerns and have barter window responsible for this. So, function barter win festival changed. And if we go ahead and say barter win festival changed, then in here we can go ahead and say if the window is visible, then refresh the list. And then the code that's barter window specific is here. Here we're just saying, hey, festival changed, do what you will. Let's take a look at that. Let's turn this off, back on, and then come over to Yule. We can see that got updated. Midsummer, great. Spring, awesome. Come back to Yule. go ahead and close it and go to Midsummer, Farmer's Fair, and reopen. And we can see we did load it up again. I like that. Okay, it does say Farmer's Fair. If we close it, it's very fast. If we open it, I don't like that it needs to reload it again. I want to only load it once. And so what we need to do is remember which festival we loaded and check what the current festival is. Okay, let's separate this into 2 commits, because what we have now is working. It's just not as good as I want it to be. So what we're going to do is only refresh barter list if window is visible or opening. Visible when festival changes or when it opens. Okay. Let's go ahead and say that. Okay, so yes, we moved that. We got rid of that. And we did this, yes. Here we have those 2 functions. That's fine. And in the main window, instead of refresh barter list, we're saying the festival changed. Love it. Here, instead of setting the visibility, we say that. Yep. Here we say don't refresh. And for the rest of these, we just use that function. Okay, that's great. Okay, now we're in a great spot because, excuse me, we don't risk messing up those changes by making new changes. So what we want to do is when we do a refresh, selected festival, do we do anything with that? We do not. Okay. So what I want to do is have a loaded festival, maybe? Let's go ahead and do that. So, where do we want to store it? List barter items is what's kind of storing this, so I might do that. Loaded festival equals that. It's going to complain at me, it's not a class, blah, blah, blah. I'm not too worried about that particular squiggly. So, we could do that, we could do it in the window. My instinct is to do it in the window itself. So, barter win parent. So that is the loaded festival. But we don't want to clear items if we can avoid it. So what we would prefer to do is something like if selected festival equals wbarterwin.loaded festival, then return end. Let's see if we can do that. So when we load this back up, we can see that did take a moment. We close it, we open it, close, open, close, open. There's a weird delay there. It's actually the buttons not letting me click really fast. Interesting, unless I'm moving the cursor. Alright, well, c'est la vie. Okay. This is fine because we can see we're not getting that delay, but if we're coming over to Yule, then we do get that delay once, but then it stays. Perfect. That's exactly what we want, and that was a super easy fix. Super likely to be correct fix. Let's come look at what we did. So, we said if the selected festival is the one we start off, then don't refresh the barter list, and then save off the one that we just are loading. What I'm also curious is, does that mean that if we scroll on down to the bottom here, barter, barter, oh yeah, cool, it remembers where we are. Barter, barter, which it wouldn't have before, I think. Let's go ahead and actually double check that. Don't refresh the barter list if the festival hasn't changed. And actually, Second question, if we close this, come on over to Midsummer, come on back to Yule, and then open the barter list, yeah, we're still there. That's awesome. Okay, so let's step back in time to the 2.15 release. Okay, and then unload and reload. And I think what the answer is, if I scroll on down here, and then I close the barter, and then I open the barter, right, it didn't have this problem because it was only refreshing when you changed the festival. But that means we're midway through here, so if I close it, come on over to Harvest Math, there's that lag, come back to Yule, there's that lag, open it up, we're back at the top. So, yes, we didn't have to solve this problem before because it was only on festivals. But now we have solved it, so that's good too. Okay, neat. Why did I hit escape? That was very silly of me. Okay, so let's go ahead and unload that. Let's go ahead and step back forward in time, load this back up, and just convince ourselves that we haven't broken anything. Great. Coming down, Yule, Farmers, Midsummer, Yule, barter window, slow, great. Scroll on down, close, open, also good. Move to something else, move back, barter, great. Everything's working as we wanted. So that's going to be two different commit SHAs that I want to reference. So this is fixed in commits this and copy SHA that. So we're going to close with that comment. And GitHub understands that those are commit SHAs, so you can hover over it and see a link to those two pushes. So for your documentation saying these two things are what's fixing this, and then if we were in a side branch, we could make a pull request, blah, blah, blah. That's more complicated than we need to do right now. Okay, so issues. What else do we have? Next up. Some ideas that I had were when you're doing the eating contest, stuffing the stuffed, each table after the first, or I should say, when you finish the first one and you talk to Ona K, you have a ticking clock to get to the next table and finish up before you talk to that NPC. And I would like to make an on-screen timer for that. But seeing as I'm doing Ona K very little at the moment, that's actually a pretty low priority for me. Let's take a look at what else we have. Add timer window showing how long until a beggar will return. This is actually very interesting to me. We can see in our chat log, and in fact, let me go ahead and make a new tab. And we're going to call this say. And we're going to go ahead and put only say in there. And each time a beggar is run off, we're going to get some text, and we're reliant on someone else doing it. Do it. Yes. Okay. So Barrett Noah says, and I'm sure you or someone else will blah, blah, blah. So what I would like to have is a little window that pops up if any of these are on cooldown, that we saw them run away, a little timer, and once the timer has expired, it disappears. And when the last timer in the window disappears, the window goes away until the next time. So we can constantly have this sort of heads up of when someone was run off and therefore when we expect them to be back. Ways I would like to refine this are only showing timers for ones we care about. Don't clutter up the UI with ones that we're not concerned about. Maybe optional in case you're with other people and they would like to know, and you could be like, oh, they're going to be back in 5 seconds. That might be a thing that Little Redhead would like if I could be like, you can give them coin in 7 seconds, go! So that was a thing, is... and I spelled out some ideas over here. So that feels like a more complicated one because we'll need a new window. We'll need timers, a timer class that looks reasonable for this. The first two I think are going to be a little bit easier. And the first one of this is I just want to know how long this round, this character has taken me to go through the festival. So what I'm thinking is in the quick guide window, just add a little clock element in the upper right here that just sits on top of this entry. Oh, interesting. You can click anywhere? I don't know if I like that. Oh, well. it sits on top of here and just tells you from when you took in Spirit of the Yule to when you turned in Spirit of Yule. That's interesting. Why is in Spirit of the Yule after those? Anyway, from when you took the wrapper to when you turned in the wrapper, how long did that take? So I have an interest in that. I'm going to turn off the biggest stomach of them all. Cool. So that's my thought is I want to have a visual idea of how long did it take start to end, and obviously there's going to be an extra minute or two for putting your toolkit away and logging off and logging on, but for just running the festival, how long did that take? The other thing I want to do is this is a very static list of information, and when you are collecting 5 eggs or 9 firewood or dispersing winter weather, I don't want to have to be looking between the quick guide and my quest log over here. In fact, I'd prefer that quest log didn't show up at all, except maybe for the abominable snow beasts. And so what I would like to do is add an ability for those things where you are collecting 1 to n of a thing to be able to update this text or add subsequent text, something that says, here's where we are on that. And I don't know how to do that. So we're going to do the other one first because this is easier. So add a timer for quick guides. Add a timer to the top of the quick guide window that starts when the wrapper quest is taken and stops when the wrapper quest is turned in. And we want to make sure we can do this. We want to make sure we can simulate this so that we don't have to actually test this on characters. We'll run out of characters real fast that way. And then there's a question of, do we want to allow the user to pause the timer possibly by clicking on it? Maybe they need to step away for a minute, or maybe this is just, it takes how long it takes, and if you step away from the computer, then it takes longer. So we don't need to worry about the pause right away. We can always come back and add it in later. But it's just something to think about, that maybe that would be a nice feature. So that's what we're going to work on for the next umpteen minutes here, is adding this clock, because I have a strong interest in knowing just how fast or slowly I'm doing. Okay, how's that going to look? First of all, we should make something that, well, we should check and see what kind of timer might already exist in the Festival Buddy, because timers, those tend to get implemented and re-implemented and re-implemented a lot. We have something called timer control. Inspired by timer control from Minstrel Buff. Awesome. Where is this used? For the Hobnanigans timer. Oh, interesting. I don't know if that's what we want. That one is more complicated. If we take a look at Hobnanigans, let's go ahead and switch over. We can simulate a game in the options if we have debug options turned on. Let's go ahead and search for debug. I don't know what it is, so show debug options. Great. We're going to set that to true and reload. Okay, so what we want to do is come on down to the to the testing and say we are playing Hobnanigans on field 1 as the flying feathers, and the game has started, and this is the timer that it's talking about. And I think this is overkill for what we want, because this can change colors. So if we go to 6 minutes, we can see as it rolls over to less than 6 minutes, we've entered the second phase, so there's another color. And then as we advance into the third phase, there's another color. Hey, little one. You want to come over here? You just look like you woke up. Okay, and then finally, it knows that when it's underneath a certain number of time, probably in the, when it's less than a minute, it's just counting down seconds. Apparently without the S. Interesting. And then at the end, it knows to go to tenths of a second. So a lot of that's not something we need, but we can take inspiration from it. So Fuji says, ooh, how about a way to not get picked to play a part in Frostbluff Theater? I think if you do /AFK while you're in the theater, then your character will not be selected to be backstage. So as long as you hit /AFK before you enter the theater, then what?
Anytime.
Well, Little Redhead points out you can do it anytime while you are in there, but you run the risk of running into the theater and being zooped backstage. So if you don't want to play a part, just do /AFK and then go into the theater, and you should not be chosen. I don't think there's a need for a plugin for that, but just manage that yourself, I guess. Actually, can you see if you're marked AFK? /AFK. Yes, you can. Great. Okay. Sanfuji says, thanks. You're welcome. I learned that from Little Redhead. She knew this festival long before I did. And she confirms in chat that if your character is /AFK while they're pulling characters with the play, it'll skip you. I assume that means that if, there were at least 3 characters in the theater, but they were, at least one of them was AFK, it would think it only had 2 eligible, so it wouldn't start. Sanfuji says, I learned a lot from Little Redhead. Me too. Okay. So, the Hobnanigans timer is overkill for what we want, is what I'm seeing. It's called timer control, though, which is a problem, because that's really the Hobnanigans timer control. Is start, is middle, is end, all of that. So what we want to do is start renaming things to identify that this is Hobnanigans specific. Okay, Little Redhead confirms that any AFK characters are considered as if they're not there when the game is figuring out if you have enough to put on the play at all, or if it's going to be delayed until there are more players. Okay, so this is make timer control, and what I would like to do is have that be make Hobnanigans timer control. And Hobnanigans will say make Hobnanigans timer control. Great. That was actually really easy. And then timer control. Is there anything else in here? Format, timer, set size. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we can see here that I forgot to put the S there for Hobnanigans. So that's funny. So if we start the game, start that, and advance to 10 seconds. Okay, now we can see that we retain the S, and we should retain that also. Would it look better with a space? Let's find out. I don't think it would look better. Start, 6 minutes. Yeah, I don't like that. Okay, cool. So we're good with that. Start. And then down to 10 seconds. Great. Okay. Great, but I feel like, again, because this is not done in a more object-oriented way, we're going to go ahead and do Hobnanigans time. Format Hobnanigans time. We're going to do the same thing for timer set size. That's going to be Hobnanigans timer set size. Timer start. That could be multiple places. It's not? Okay. Hobnanigans timer start. And then timer stop. That's going to be Hobnanigans timer stop. Awesome. And then timer set time remaining. Shenanigans. Timer set time remaining. Last one. Okay. So what that gives us, save all, is ideally an identically functioning system, but where each of these functions is specifically hobnanigans related, so that if we make another timer control that's not this, that we will not accidentally call the one when we need to call the other. Okay, so let's go ahead and load this up. We don't see any errors. Let's go ahead and do a game. You can see the timer is ticking down. Let's go ahead and advance. Let's go ahead and advance again. And final. Hey. What's up, little one? Awesome. So, winner, it was me. Do you want up? Do you just want to sit underneath me? Yeah. Okay. What's up? You look like you're going to be fussy if I pick you up. Shall we try it? Hey. Yeah. Okay. Yep. You weren't ready for that. That's okay. Thanks for trying. Okay, so what we want to do now is go back to our source control and double check that we agree with everything that we're doing. And I'm actually going to get rid of context. So hobnanigans, a bunch of hobnanigans, that sounds great. Options window, that's this. And timer control, that is all of that. Oh, it's not actually all of that. That is this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this, this, and that. Great. Made timer control functions more obviously hobnanigans related. Great. So that is not that, not that. That is those three. So we're going to commit that. Now we're going to come back in here and added missing s for seconds to the timer control format string. Okay. So that was a different thing. Cool. So the last thing I want to do, and I didn't do this at the same time intentionally, is rename the timer control file to be hobnanigans. And the reason why is that there's an algorithm to decide if the deletion, if a rename is actually a rename. You deleted this and you created this file, but they have the same contents, so it's a rename. And so source control history will persist. It'll just be like, okay, it used to be this, now it's this. And if you change too much in a file while you also change the name, you run the risk of it not pairing those up. And to not even worry about it or have to backtrack later, I just did the changes first, and now let's come on in here, and that's going to be rename hobnanigans timer control. Cool. So let's go ahead and find that import statement, and that's going to be oops. Where'd it go? Hobnanigans timer control. Rename. Great. So ideally, that will still work. So we're going to go ahead and reload this. Yep, it's still there. I guess we should double check that the timer works. Yay, we scored. Okay. Everything seems to still work just fine. Awesome. So we want to go ahead and commit that. And we can see that this has deleted that file, and we have created that file and then identified this as a rename. Awesome. And then change the import. Rename. It's going to be pretty similar to the last message. Renamed the timer control file to be more obviously harmonicans related. Okay. Awesome. Push those things out. So we're now in a better place to create a different timer that maybe actually has some of the same fundamental features inside of it. Ideally, you would have a timer class that you could then add to other things, but the nature of timers in Lord of the Rings Online is that they're always a control under the covers, because controls can be notified every frame in their update function. And so that's how you get told, hey, do something, do something, do something, do something over and over is your control, and you say, please let me know every time a new frame is happening. And ideally you don't do too much in there so you don't slow the game client down very much. So that's why this is a control. So what we want to do is probably make a new file. And that is going to be quick guide timer control.lua. Awesome. And in here, don't show this again. Thank you. In here, we want to do something similar. Actually, let's go ahead and import the quick guide timer control. Yeah, that's fine. So we have a timer control and we have a Hobnanigans timer control. So let's go ahead and look at these side by side. Cool. So what we want is an actual time in our timer. We want it to start at 0 and we want it to count up. So let's this is going to be a control that has a label in there that we can populate with the time. Function make quick guide timer control. One of these days I should come back and roll these all up into classes and objects, but today is not that day. In this timer control, we want to make a local control equals turbine.ui.control, and that is going to be what we return. Where is that used? We return the control. Okay, yeah. Where's that used? There. Yeah, okay, that's fair. So we want to make a control, and this is the thing that is going to hold everything, and we'll return control. And what's going to go in here? There's going to be a label in here. Now, setting the size. We'll come back to that. Setting the visibility, don't know if I care about that. The blend mode, we probably want that. Okay. So, local time equals turbine.ui.label, probably. And time set parent to be control. And time set text to be 0000. Now, I'm not expecting to care if it takes hours. And actually, let's go ahead and do 0 minute, 0 second instead. Ooh, that's a good question. Am I going to want that, or am I going to want that? Probably this. It's a little bit more stopwatchy. Like if we're coming into the stopwatch that's just built into Windows 11, obviously going into milliseconds is just silly for for a LOTRO quick guide like this, but seconds and minutes I could see just having 0:13. Okay, so we'll go ahead and set that, but let's go ahead and pre-populate it as if it has something a little longer. Okay. Cool. Longest time I'm going to show. Then that's kind of it. So let's go ahead and take that into the quick guide window. And when we draw the quick guide window, we need to put this somewhere. So let's go ahead and say timer equals make quick guide timer control, and timer set parent equals the window. Now the one thing we want to do is position it reasonably well. And so let's go ahead and change that to you'll go back to the quick guide. And we want this to be probably over here. So let's take a look at that. So timer set size. We're going to go ahead and not know how many pixels this is and not want to guess. I'm just going to go ahead and snip that, coming into MS Paint or something similar, and measure stuff. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do a select here. We can see that that is about 60 pixels, should be more than enough. Let's do that. Okay, so set size 60. Oh yeah, how big is that? 20 is fine. Okay, so that isn't actually correct because the control that we're talking about isn't going to then update the size of the label underneath it yet, but that's okay. In fact, let's go ahead and say control set back color to be turbine.ui.color. Dark green. Is there such a thing? Dark red. And then the timer, we'll go ahead and say time set back color to be turbine.ui.color. Something else, dark blue. And then we'll be able to see the difference between those. Okay. And then timer set position. We want to come back to here and say, okay, how far over are we? And from we can go ahead and say that that is 0. That is 0. Nope. Oh, this new MS Paint, I'm not a fan. It's killing my muscle memory. Okay, so that we want to come on over to about there. So 300 over 20 down is perfect. So 320. Okay, let's take a look at that. So we're going to unload, we're going to load, we're going to see any errors. Nope. Okay, so we can see that the label didn't change size when the control did, but if we didn't have those backgrounds, it would still look okay. In fact, I want to move that over by like another 20 or so. Okay, but we can see it's actually starting to cover the X button, and we don't want that. We want to make sure that is not happening. And so control set mouse. Set mouse visible to false. And I think that may include everything inside of it, but we can see if this thing were 80 wide, for instance, we would want to still be able to hit that button. Okay. And without the set once mouse false, we would no longer be able to hit that button. Okay, but let's go back to 60. If we are lucky, we can remember how to set an override for this. So control.setWidth equals function self value. I don't know how to override this in this manner. Easy enough to not worry about it though. Function quick guide timer control set quick timer width. Now we can do that, or we can just do the silly or the basic thing and just say, okay, width, height, and with that we can come on in here and say that this is true for control set size, width, height, and that is also for time set size, width, height. Okay. And then we're going to come on into here and do this instead. So 60, 20. Well, let's take a look at that. And now we can see that the two sizes are the same. We could make the font a little bit bigger, maybe. I'm curious what the font is. Let's take a look at that. So turbine.shell.writeline font, and we're going to go ahead and do time get font. And what's font return? A number. All right, fair enough. Let's do that. All right, so in plugins, we can see font was 0. Okay. That's not very helpful. Let's see if the LOTRO interface wiki is back up. Oh, alas, what's under? Okay. We don't need it though because turbine.ui.font style. No. Turbine.font dot. I know there's a way to select fonts. LOTRO font. Sure. Let's just search for that real fast. Oh, sorry. LOTRO.font. Yeah. Okay. So if we come into our fonts, 0 is undefined, so it just defaults to whatever. So if we go ahead and look at anything else in here, I'm guessing we use larger fonts, like in the barter window. Okay, let's take a look at what barter window does. Barter window, font dot, oh, set font, Trojan Pro 16, Trojan Pro 16, let's take a look at that. Remember, if you're going to change the font, do that before you set the text in there. Otherwise, you won't like, ooh, I don't like Trajan for that. Okay. What do we have? Did we have a Lucida console? We did, but only one size. Well, let's check it out. Yeah, that's pretty small. Verdana 12. Let's see what that looks like. That's not bad. Let's bump it up to 16, 18. Oh, why not? We'll start with 18. Okay. That is something. Let's move it left a little bit. Okay, that's not terrible. Let's go ahead and kill those background colors. They were really just useful to make sure we knew what the extent of it was. So it would look like that, and I think that's good. So what we want to do is have the text be nothing, and then function quick guide timer update quick guide timer time, and that's the we need a start function that records off when we started. So that's going to be a, let's see, let's get ideas from an existing function. Function quick guide timer start. We want a stop function as well. So that's going to be pretty simple. Okay, in the start, we're going to go ahead and say what on earth is this? Okay, so we want the, oh yeah, we're passing a control, of course. So control dot start time equals turbine dot engine dot get game time timer. No. What is timer in this case? Control dot timer. Timer was just the thing that's holding all of that. All right, fair enough. So control dot is stopped was false. Control set wants updates set to true, and I don't know if we need visibility to be involved there. Let's take a look at stop. I'm pretty sure, among other things, control set wants updates to false. Oh, yeah, we need control. All right. And yeah, it's control. I don't know if the is stopped is going to be useful. I really don't know that that's true. Okay. Right, it is actually correct. Okay. Set once updates, visible, I don't care about that. Okay. So we have an ability to start and stop the timer. And in fact, let's go ahead and just quick guide timer start. What's up, little one? You being silly? Okay, so we have this. We would like we need an update function, of course. So control dot update equals function sender args, and that is going to be update quick guide timer with control. So that's going to take control, and we're going to say maybe we care about that. Local current time equals. Oh, we probably don't want to call this all the time. We would like to call it once a second approximately. So if Let's see. Great. Let's look at this example where we've already done this. If it's stopped, then return. That's a reasonable thing. If control is stopped, then return. Sure. So current time elapsed time equals this. So we actually need control, and we have that start time, and then the remaining. We have an update interval. So every half a second we'll update this instead of like 30 times a second. Great. The is precise in that one is so we can do tenths of a second, but we're not worried about that. Remaining time. Do we care about that? No, there's no remaining time. Okay. Update interval. If elapsed is greater than the duration, that doesn't matter. Okay. If current time, yep, is greater than control dot, previous, we do need a previous update time. Okay. Plus that, then we'll go ahead and save off that previous update time. And then we'll do something. And in this case, I just want to move this definition down here. Okay, so what we're going to do with that is text set, time set text. And we're just going to set that to current time, just so we can see something happening. Nope, we can't because we have error messages. All right, timer control 53. Great. Yes, that would be an error. Rightio. Let's go to line 26, which is spamming problems. Attempt to perform arithmetic on previous update, a null value. Well, that's fair. Let's go ahead and pre-populate that with 0. Okay, so we can see that nothing appears to be happening, but I think that's just because it's a very large number. So let's go ahead and use elapsed time instead. I didn't hit save. Let's do that again. Okay, so we can see that we're getting updates every half a second plus a little bit. Like we're continuing to creep by a few hundredths of a second. Okay, but that's basically what we want, but with the actual formatted time. So let's borrow that. So if that go ahead and borrow this. And let's go ahead and save this off. Control.time equals time. Time control. Great. So we have control, then we have control.time control set time. Let's go ahead and pass elapsed time. We already have it. Great. So we can see the same functionality, but now we're in a little helper function. Awesome. So formatting the time. How do we want to do that? We were formatting the time for Hobnanigans in this. Do we like any of this? No, not really. Okay. So we want local minutes equals math dot. Actually, yeah, we do want that. Local minutes equals math dot floor of the elapsed time, which is time in seconds, divided by 60. We want to know why there's fireworks going off outside, but we probably will never know. Math dot floor of time in elapsed time minus minutes times 60. I'm betting. Yep, classic formula. This is the kind of thing that you learn in your first CS class or programming class in high school or college. Is you have a number of seconds. How do you convert this into a human readable format? Hours, minutes, seconds. The answer is math. All right, so we want to go ahead and say local text equals string.format, and this is going to be %d colon %d with minutes and seconds. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and use that text in the text. Great, let's see if that does what we want it to. Almost, it does not. Okay, we would really much like that to have a number of we want to pad that out. Okay, so Lua, what is this function? This is the string.format pad. Okay, so if you prepend the number, so we want to pad with 0 and we want to pad to 2 of them. Sorry, %0 2. So that might be that. Let's find out. Excellent. Now, the only problem is this is starting right when the plugin loads, and I don't think we want to do that. I think we want to call quick guide timer start more intentionally. And with that, I want to go over to the quick guides here, come over to Yule, and take a look at the Yule quick guide. I don't remember how these work, and so stop it. I'm going to need to look at the code a little bit. Okay, so we have a quick guide. We have chains, okay. We have the chain lookup, okay. Okay, I think this is where we can set like timer, we can add custom stuff here. So in the spirit of Yule is the very first one, I believe. Yeah, so we're gonna say timer start equals true. And wait, yeah, that's the pickup, okay. In the spirit of Yule, chain end, yep, and timer stop equals true. Now, how do we know if that works? I don't know. Let's come on into anywhere we're using this, which is the quick guide win, okay. If the check changed, if is checked and objective is that, then handle that. If checkbox is checked and objective dot something, timer start. Then we're going to go ahead and this, but we need that, we need to have saved off this timer. So where was it? Okay, we're going to say, yep, this dot timer equals timer, great, and then we can reference it later. So that was this dot timer, and then same thing if this timer stop then we want to call stop. Cool. So if that works, and we don't have any reason to believe it wouldn't, then let's see if we don't have a way to... Okay, so if we accept in the spirit of Yule, what did I do wrong here? Okay. In the spirit Okay, just in case I mistyped something, let's come on in here, paste that, accept. Cool. And we can see that the timer started. Now, the timer is just a little bit too big. If we were to bump it up by just a little bit and possibly make the size one step smaller, all right, so this tells me we have 1, 2, 3, 4 pixels. Let's move it up by 3. Timer. So 17. Well, the redhead says my character's been lying down for a while. Technically true. Thank you, Winkle. Okay, so we go ahead and come back in and accept this, and we can see, oh, aha, reset. Oh, and if I reset, we should probably at least stop the timer. Accept. Okay, it's slightly overlapping the green. I don't know how much I'm going to worry about that, but let's come on in. Quick guide timer control, and let's just see what happens if we do banana 16. Will I like it? Okay, so reset. Okay, accept this. That's fine, I guess. And the real question is, what happens if I complete it? It stops. Pretty good, pretty good. If I hit reset, I think I would like the time to also reset. Or clear. So let's take a look at that. Start, stop, and function quick guide timer reset. And that's just going to be, it'll make sure that this is stopped, and also control dot time control set text to nothing. I think that's fine. And if we start, then the start time is going to get overwritten. That's fine. Okay, let's take a look at that. Unload, reload. In the spirit of Yule, we've accepted it. Time has started. I kind of want to move that over now. So maybe more like 20. Maybe more like 15. All right, so in the spirit of Yule starts. Still could be more. And then if I reset this, we didn't actually call it. Let's go to the reset button. Reset. reset button. Okay, if we do that, then we need to quick guide timer reset. And that's going to be w quick guide parent dot timer, something like that. Yep. Okay, let's come back into this. We took in the spirit of Yule. Awesome. Let's just assume that we've turned in a bunch of things. Turn in, turn in, turn in, turn. We've completed all the things. Good job, us. Oh, forgot to cold as ice. So, we get to the end of this thing, and we finally turn in the spirit of Yule. Complete. Timer stopped. Awesome. Possibly could add a little background to show it, but that's okay. And then reset gets rid of it, and then accept, and we're back. Reset gets rid of it. Okay. I think that is feature complete for as much as I wanted, except that we should probably make this optional because it doesn't look good. So, let's go ahead and double check the position. I think the position's probably fine. Could be a little bit further right, but it's fine. So in the options for quick guides, we want to add a quick guide option here. So that's going to be probably between the completed items and quick guide colors. And also, while we're thinking about this, we should remember to mark other starts and stops. So Midsummer is going to have a wrapper as well, and that's going to be in celebration of Midsummer Pickup. And we want to come on in here and say that this is also timer start equals true, and the in celebration of Midsummer drop off, which we can expect to be at the very bottom, a lot of other things there. Okay. Well, I'll play with that later. Timer stop equals true. Okay, so that at least is there. And then the quick guide for, and that was, what was it, Midsummer? Where did we set that? Is it just because, man, I forgot how many quests there you can do in Midsummer. My goodness. All right, let's go ahead and actually say that's going to be floral crowns. It'll be pretty close to that, if not that. So that's going to be Midsummer timer stop. We'll do that for floral crowns. Now, it does mean if you eliminated a quest thing from the quick guide and said, oh, I'm not worried about that quest, then you wouldn't have any way to activate the thing. So if we came into Yule and we said, oh, we don't actually care about in the spirit of, then you would lose the ability to have the timer because the timer is currently identified as being part of that. It's a pretty rigid system. But I don't have a use case for that, so that's okay. Cool, so we know that that's going to work. If we come on in to the In-League Ale Association, let's go ahead and set one up there as well. So this is going to be a bit of white pickup. We're going to come on down here and say that this is also timer start. And then the last thing is a reminder of Rivendell end. Yeah. And this would be the timer stop. Okay, we're actually approaching a pretty good stopping point for the stream. So I think after I have verified that this looks good and works and whatnot, and committed it into source control, I think that'll be a natural wrapping up point. So now's a great time if you have any last minute questions, comments, concerns, to toss those into chat. So we have a chance to look at them. Otherwise, bring them back next week. Speaking of which, next week is Christmas Eve. I expect Little Redhead and I are both here for that. But if your holidays take you somewhere else, then enjoy. Okay, so we have start and stops for each of those. It'll be easier to test once we actually get there. We have I'm going to make this window a little bit easier to look around. We wanted the option. That's what it was. So we're going into options, window, and we probably want to turn this off by default. Probably. And so we also want a settings, I think. Where are the settings done? Globals? Globals sounds good. Okay. So default settings. We need quick guide. Quick guide win. Okay. Is it the quick guide? Quick guide progress, quick guide request to use. Sure. Quick guide win. Use timer equals false. I could see it going over there. Okay. So, let's try this again. Quick guide use timer equals false. So that's what we're going to key off of in the options window. In the options window, we're going to find the quick guide. Quick guide. Our quick guide options, great. So in here, we can see how it matches up with this. We have the remove completed checkbox, great. Delay in seconds, awesome. And we want to go ahead and timer section. So this is going to be a checkbox with no, that's it, just a checkbox, I think, which has text. Great. So we're going to go ahead and basically lift that and modify it to our desires. So remove completed checkbox. This can be use timer checkbox. So we have this. We want to get quick guide remove completed. Great. Quick guide use timer, and that's going to be show timer. Use quick guide timer. And then we'll possibly fill in with some other translations later. Okay, so we have the use quick guide timer, so that's going to be this. We also have the quick guide use timer. That's the check. And then the check, when it is checked, you go ahead and alternate that. Awesome. And then, is there anything else to do? No, because we're just going to use that whenever we need it. Okay, so this, let's go ahead and look at the quick guide window, and that's going to be, so start, if not use timer, then return. Okay, if we're stopping the timer, doesn't really matter, but sure. No, if we're stopping the timer, just let it stop. Resetting the timer. No, it's just we don't want to start. Okay, if the timer is running, then we probably want to do something about that. Okay, so options window. If not, settings, quick guide, use timer, then we can go ahead and reset that. Let's take a look at that. So we're going to go ahead and unload, reload, and we can see the use quick guide timer option is not selected. So if we complete in the spirit of Yule, if we go to Yule, if we complete that, we can see the timer doesn't start. Okay, let's go ahead and reset this and say use quick guide timer, and then accept that. We can see the timer is running, and if we say don't use it, we can see it goes away. Perfect. Okay, let's go ahead and start committing these changes since it looks pretty good, and then over the next day or two I'll be using it excessively. And now I kind of want it to default to used because I don't want to have to set that to true for all my characters. Okay, for my characters, I'll go ahead and set that for true and make a note to before pushing update, consider setting that to false. Default value of that to false. Cool. Let's go ahead and add that. But for now, it's going to be true just for testing purposes over the next little while. Okay, so great. Let's see what all this looks like. We have added a timer start equals true, timer stop equals true. In league, midsummer, timer start true, timer stop true, and Yule, timer start true, timer stop true. Great. We have a quick guide use timer setting. We are including that control. Awesome. We have a new option. Excellent. We have the new control. We have a window, a quick guide window that is using it. So we create it, put it in the right place, save it off. On the reset, we go ahead and reset that timer as well. And then if we should start or stop the timer based off an objective that is just completed, do that. Looks great. And in the strings, we have this. Perfect. So let's come into our objective. So issue number 2, add timer to quick guide. Very cool. Lots of little changes across all of those and a few big changes. So we're going to push that out. And that gives us a clean working directory for the next thing. Cool. So, awesome. We did a couple of things today. We added that timer for quick guides. We went ahead and made it so the barter window doesn't trigger that performance hit, that little delay, until you open the barter window. So if you're just loading the plugin, it's going to be a little bit faster every time you do it. Awesome. That's also useful for me with a bunch of characters. So that was a pretty productive time. Next time, or possibly between if I get the itch, we'll be looking at some other things. For instance, when you have 2 of 9, 3 of 9, 4 of 9 firewood from the grumpwood, I would love to see that in the window itself. Again, making this quest tracker over here not necessary. Okay. But with that being said, I think that's everything we're going to cover today. Thank you so much for joining me on this exploration of LOTRO plugins. I hope to see you all here next week, and until then, keep plugging along. All right, bye-bye now.